All right, welcome back everybody to another Real Talk with your boy JT. I pray all is well with everybody and may the Most High bless you. My title now says Leaders and Presidents Who Were Assassinated. Just a Real Talk video. And let me give a shout out to my man Timon. Very powerful email. And I'm going to kind of take my time in this video. Let me say this off top. For the ones who are always listening for the Bible study, this is not going to be a Bible study video. This is going to be a real talk video. I know sometimes y'all be wanting me to do videos like this, and here it is. Because it's been so many leaders, we could say like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, so many others, and then presidents like John F. Kennedy, and even go back to Abraham Lincoln. You see a pattern. And I did a video yesterday talking about there's always a fall guy. So this going to kind of tie in with what I was saying yesterday. So that's why I want to make this a real talk. A lot of people think I just study the Bible, brother. To answer your other question, I go very deep with studying. I don't just study the Bible, but the Bible is my main focus, my main source, my favorite book. But when I study history, not only looking at biblical history, but looking at that old watered down history that they taught us in school, and what they taught us in school was nothing but a lie. And what I know now, I wish I knew back then. See, it's not what I know that hurt me, it's what I didn't know. So what I know now versus what I knew coming up, it blew my mind when I started learning truth. So I want to tie all this in together about Abraham Lincoln, JFK, and Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and I'm going to just use them as the main because we always want to make this thing about color, but when it comes to getting assassinated, it had nothing to do with color, did it? That's why I made the statement in the video yesterday, black people need to quit walking around with this blame game when we killing each other every day. See, I'm not an ignorant black man. I study, and I don't just accept anything anybody throw at me, you know. So let's look at this for a moment, brother, to answer all your questions. I'm looking at your email right there. And that's why I always say it's always somebody got to take the fall. Now, it's a whole lot of things that sticks out to me about the way Abraham Lincoln was and how he died. And the same thing with JFK. Abraham Lincoln was elected to Congress back in 1846. And we know JFK was elected to Congress in 1946. And looking at Abraham Lincoln, what he stood for, and then you see what JFK stood for and what he went against, you see that it had to be a setup. Now, Lincoln was elected president in 1860 once again, and Kennedy was elected president in 1960. And in the 60s, man, it was so much killing, so much murdering, so much lies, so much crookedness. And see, I got to throw this in there. When you get to talking about the government, the AFT, the mafia, the mob bosses, the FBI, CIA once again, it's a whole lot of stuff that's brushed under the table. And when you start talking about civil rights, segregation, so a lot of people don't think JT can get this deep with history and coming up and all that. Now let me tell you something. We need to know a lot of this stuff. Now I'm going to ask you some questions. Because Abraham Lincoln and JFK, both of them and their wives, they lost a child while living in the White House. Do you think that was a coincidence? JFK and Abraham Lincoln were both shot on a Friday. Do you think that was a coincidence? Both of these presidents were shot in their head. What do you think about that? Abraham Lincoln's secretary was named Kennedy. Kennedy's secretary was named Lincoln. They both were assassinated by Southerners. What do you think about that? They both were succeeded by Southerners named Johnson. We knew Andrew Johnson, who succeeded Lincoln. And then you had who? Lyndon B. Johnson, who succeeded Kennedy. We got a freeway down here, excuse me, named after LBJ. Lyndon B. Johnson, 635 down here in Dallas, Texas. When you look at these things I'm talking about, what do you think? The man who assassinated Lincoln, John Booth, was born in 1839. And then we heard of what? Lee Harvey Oswald, who assassinated Kennedy, supposed to be. You got a great debate behind that. But Oswald was born in 1939. Lincoln was shot at the theater named for it. But look at Kennedy. What was Kennedy riding in? He was shot in a car called Lincoln, made by who? We know who made Lincoln, Ford. Now, another thing I want to point out, I'm just pointing out a few things, a whole lot we can point out, but Booth and Lee Harvey Oswald, they both was assassinated before their trial. Did we catch that? Because if they was able to talk, ain't no telling what would have came out. And here's something else. The week before Abraham Lincoln was shot, he was in Monroe, Maryland. A week before Kennedy was shot, he was with who? Marilyn Monroe. Now look at Lincoln. He was shot in the theater, and the one who shot him ran where? Straight to a warehouse. Kennedy was shot from a warehouse. And then the assassin ran to a theater. Now what do you think about this? Is this just something to just say, well, that, you know, JT, hey man, that could be anything? Or do you think it's something to it? These are my questions to you. Both of these assassins were Southern white males born in the late 30s who were in their mid-20s. And they both was killed before they was tried. Now, what do you think? And when I look at both of these presidents, the way they was executed, being shot in the back of the head on the Friday. On the Friday before a major holiday. What do you think? And here go the other thing. They was with their wives. Seated beside their wives. But none of their wives, neither one of their wives was injured. Not even a little bit. See, I study a lot. I like to put things together. Both of these men was related to a U.S. Senator and an Attorney General, an ambassador to Great Britain, and the mayor of Boston. Brother, are you still with me? Do I think it's something to all that? Yes. Because, see, when I look at the Bible, and I look at assassinations in the Bible, and I look at blood sacrifices, like we talked about the other day, I look at a fall god being a setup. I look at what Judas done in the Bible. And I look at what people are still doing to this day. Now, tie this in with, and I'm going to say this, because some of y'all have heard this. Because of the shooting of Mike Brown, and we know what happened with Trayvon Martin, excuse me. Now they got all this flashed across the news and all over the internet now about Trayvon Martin daddy is a Mason. Mike Brown daddy was a Mason. Somebody had to be a blood sacrifice. Am I saying all this is true? I don't know Mike Brown daddy. And I don't know Trayvon Martin daddy personally. But I will say this. I don't shoot out information. Now let me use a better word. I'm not gonna knock down that information and say it's false, because what you see is not what you see nowadays. And what you really don't want to believe is what you should be believing. Because see, once again, this is not about flesh and blood. Y'all catch what I'm saying? Now, I just wanted to throw that out there because this is a real talk video. Now, April the 4th, 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. was shot down while standing on the balcony outside his second-story room at the Lorraine Motel, excuse me, in Memphis. Who killed Martin Luther King? Who shot him down? On February the 21st, 1965, 1 week after his home was firebombed up, I'm talking about Malcolm X now, he was shot to death. Who killed Malcolm X? That's my other question to you. Did his own kill him? Who killed him? The mafia? The CIA? I'm just throwing something out to you. I love to hear y'all input on this. And you wonder why I talk about politics so much and how crooked people are. Now, brother, Timon, back to your other question. I'm still looking at your email here. Kennedy was assassinated on November the 22nd, like you got wrote here, 1963. But let me go a step further, because he also had a brother, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, shot down also. Why was his brother killed? He died that following day, didn't he? June the 5th, 1968. Martin Luther King was a civil rights leader. Now, I'm saying this for a reason. Because when you have a family, let me make sure I say this right, and other family members, and let's get real in this video, other family members want to be in line next. You ever notice? I say this even in the rap game. Y'all want to see a powerful video? I talked about the Illuminati, and I talked about the gospel industry and the hip-hop industry. But if you ever notice, when there's a blood sacrifice, somebody is murdered, somebody else move up to the next level. But somebody got to get murdered first. That's why you'll never hear the end of Whitney Houston's story. You'll never hear the end of Michael Jackson's story. You'll never hear the end of Biggie and Tupac and others. You'll never hear the end of those stories. Because it's so much stuff that they will never tell you. Never tell you. But I said that because let me go back to Kennedy. Now, brother, I don't know if you ever studied this, but JFK knew some stuff, had some dirt on some folk, and did some things that folks didn't like. Because, see, this man had some ideas, some more things that he wanted to do versus what he was already doing, and folk didn't like it. Man, this man had plans to abolish the Federal Reserve System, which prints out worthless money backed by nothing and charges interest on it. That was making us a debtor nation to a group of international bankers. They didn't like that, bro. He wanted to use the United States notes, and he signed a presidential document called Exclusive Order 11110. They didn't like that at all. That was on June the 4th, 1963. He wanted, as president, legal clearance to create true money that would belong to the people. And that would eliminate the Federal Reserve Bank and they fake money. So a lot of us don't know this. Go study if you think I'm lying. We got to find out the truth. And when you start messing with money, people will kill you or people will have you killed. Kennedy, check this out. John F. Kennedy had already began issuing U.S. government money that was free of debt to replace the Federal Reserve dollars we had been using. And you wonder right now to this day why money keep changing. In some places, cash money ain't even no good no more. The dollar bill after a while is just going to be just like toilet paper. You can wipe your butt with it, brother, just to be real. Because with this NWO, New World Order, that set up, a whole lot of things is not going to be good no more. See, people don't really want to talk about what's really going on, brother. And I'm going to talk about it because I'm not asleep. I'm woke. I'm wide awake. I'm looking, I'm listening, I'm hearing, I'm watching. Some of us ain't looking at nothing at all. See, this is stuff that the history teachers didn't tell you. This is stuff that if they did know, they didn't want you to know. My history in school was a joke. Kennedy was out to eliminate the criminal Federal Reserve System, brother. Now, you know, now check this out, because it's interesting to say this. Only one day after Kennedy was murdered, all the United States notes which Kennedy had issued were called out of circulation. All of that money President Kennedy had created was destroyed. And not a word was said to the American people. Have you ever wondered why? They hush, don't say nothing about that. Did y'all know that? The things that we don't know. And you wonder why the CIA, the mafia, the government, some of the FBI, judges, lawyers, I ain't talking about everybody, police officers, can get away with so much stuff while we sitting up here talking about blame it on the white man. Now, I'm going to tell you something that they won't tell you. JFK and his brother Robert F. Kennedy was exposing the mafia in so many ways. Just like when Tupac had Illuminati. Tupac was saying, kill the hype. Don't let them come out with all. Don't let them, that new world order, don't let that stuff happen. And next thing you know, you don't hear about Tupac no more. You don't know what happened with Biggie. Man, when you have dirt on people, the hit is out on you. So I'm going to close with this, brother, to answer your question about JFK. Because if I keep going, this video will be 4 hours long. The world, pretty much, would never know who the real people was that gave that hit out to kill, to assassinate Kennedy. Them people probably, they may be already dead, or they might be close to dying, or they gonna choose to remain silent and go to their grave with it. If that answers your question. This is real, bro. These leaders and these presidents, is so much to say behind this stuff because you only hear a little bit of a story. But when you start digging and digging into more information, see, I'm the type of man that like to ask questions. When you tell me something, I'm going to ask you why, who, when, where, who was they talking to, how did you know that, where did you study that from, give me the book, guide me to where you find that at. Is it online, did you Google that? I make people mad. Because I was the same way in school. They would throw stuff at me and I would say, where is it at? Why you not mentioning where black people came from? Why they silent out? Why this, that? Did Christopher Columbus really discover America? Who is America Vespucci? Who is all these folks? What do you mean? What did the Indians do? That's me. And when I study, I make people mad. I do. Because I'm going to go deep. While most people I know, I'm talking about that I know, are going to say, well, you know, man, my mama told me. Well, you know, Paul, he fought in the war. He told me that. The preacher said that back then that, no, I'm going to find out for myself. I'm going to find out for myself. So I'm going to go ahead and close right now, man. Just a little real talk video about leaders and executions and assassinations and what's your take on this? Good questions, man. Very good questions. And I want to see y'all answers that I asked y'all. See the answers to the questions I asked y'all on here. I was trying to make this video right at 20 minutes, so I'm going to just kill the rest of this little clock and give a shout out to everybody. Thank y'all for always encouraging me, keeping me lifted up, firing off all these questions with the real talk videos and Bible study videos. I love y'all, man. I love this page. I love what the Most High is doing on here. And I'm going to continue to do my best. Every chance the Lord gives me, I'm going to share the word. Or if it's a real talk, you know, we're going to do what we need to do on here. So with that being said, my brothers and sisters, y'all have a wonderful, blessed day. Peace.